Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining us today. This is an emergency meeting of the Select Board on January 28th, 2022 at 4:00 p.m. This meeting is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. The meeting is being recorded by Milton Access Television, and my name is Katie Conlon. I'm the chair of the board. Would the other members introduce themselves, please? And Mr. Dennehy.
Arthur Doyle, Vice Chair.
Richard Wells, member.
Mike Dennehy, your town administrator.
Okay, thank you. Our other two members, Mike Zulis and Melinda Collins, may or may not be able to join us. This meeting was called on an emergency basis for the board to consider declaring a state of emergency because of the weather-related events. We're expecting a blizzard. The news reports are indicating that this may be an historic snowfall and storm in Boston. And so as a result, we have not posted 48 hours notice of this meeting. If the board is meeting on an emergency basis, then that requirement is waived, although we did this afternoon at approximately 2:00 p.m. post a notice that we were meeting on an emergency basis. And we reached out to Milton Times to let them know and to Milton Access Television. I see Mr. Zulis has joined us. Would you like to introduce yourself? Mr. Zulis.
Oh, yes. Mike Zulis, secretary. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So we have 4 of our members, and we also want to start this afternoon just with a brief notice. We are going to recognize and discuss this a little bit more on February 9th, but Milton's former town administrator, John Cronin, who had retired back in the early 2000s, served for over 30 years as the town administrator, unfortunately passed away yesterday, and we have this sad news to share with the community. We will say more about his career and his legacy at our meeting on February 9th, but the town administrator has ordered that the flags be lowered in town to half staff in memory of Mr. Cronin. And we're all very grateful for all that he gave to the town over the years. So could we have a moment of silence, please, for Mr. Cronin? Thank you all very much, and our condolences to Marita Cronin and the entire Cronin family, and more to come at our next meeting. This meeting has been called to consider a declaration of state of emergency, and we have a draft of a declaration that was prepared this afternoon by Kevin Freitag, our town council. I could read it into the record. Does anyone have any comments before we perhaps read the declaration, and we'll take a vote on it after any discussion? All right, I'll read the proposed declaration. Whereas on Friday, January 28th, 2022, the National Weather Service issued a hazardous weather outlook that includes a blizzard warning for eastern Massachusetts, northeastern and southeastern Massachusetts, in effect from midnight on Friday, January 28th, 2022 to 5 a.m. on Sunday, January 30th, 2022. And whereas blizzard conditions are expected to include total snow accumulations of 8 to 24 inches and wind gusts as high as 70 miles per hour. And whereas travel could be very difficult to impossible and very strong winds could cause extensive tree damage. And whereas considerable blowing and drifting of snow along near whiteout conditions at times and snowfall rates of 2 to 4 inches per hour is possible at times. And whereas the National Weather Service has advised that travel should be restricted to emergencies only, now therefore the Select Board of the Town of Milton, in accordance with the Town of Milton's snow and ice control policy, declares a state of emergency in the Town of Milton and directs the Superintendent of Streets and the Chief of the Milton Police Department to take all action, all necessary and appropriate action in accordance with all federal, state, and local laws, including but not limited to action taken for the purpose of removing or plowing snow or removing ice from any way and removing or causing to be removed any vehicle interfering with such work. This declaration of emergency in the Town of Milton shall remain in effect until notice is given by the Select Board that the emergency no longer exists. This has been drafted so that the town administrator would sign this on the board's behalf because we're meeting remotely. And I'll open it up to discussion for our members.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Doyle.
I move adoption of the declaration of emergency as read.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the declaration and issue it. Do we have any discussion? I'll just add for the public's benefit, in consultation this afternoon, the weather reports were becoming more and more drastic, and some stations reporting it could be a historic snowfall. So even the 24 inches that we've referenced in the declaration may be a little bit on the light side. So it's an unusual step for the town to take, but we have taken it in the past, and hopefully this will help the Department of Public Works, who will have crews out all weekend working very hard. And I also want to acknowledge all of the efforts of Mr. Dennehy to pull this meeting together, for Gail Neville in the clerk's office to help us, and certainly the Public Works Department, which raised the issue in the first place. Mr. Dennehy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could just a couple of notes. We do have seen several hockey nets and basketball hoops, the portable ones, still out on the roadway. We ask that residents bring those in so that the plows can maximize the roadway. We also do ask those members of the community who tend to park on the street who have a hardship sticker to park on the street, that they acknowledge that that is not allowable during snow events, and that they seek driveway or other parking restrictions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any other comment or notice? I don't see any other hands raised, so then we'll go to a vote. Mr. Doyle.
Yes.
Mr. Zulus.
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, I want to thank you all for coming in on short notice and getting onto the Zoom. We appreciate that, and I'm sure that the Public Works Department will appreciate the board's action. It will only help them to manage the snowstorm. So we wish them good luck, and anything residents can do to help dig out snow, fire hydrants, or help with neighbors and sidewalks, all of that is appreciated. And but obviously do it in a way that you're not taking on any unreasonable health risks, in case the snow is heavy. So thank you all very much. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
I'll second. Mike moved, I'll second.
All right, I'll have to watch the minutes again then to figure it out for the minutes. Watch the meeting. Okay, then all in favor, Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
Mr. Zulus,
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
I think he dropped off.
May have just lost Richard, and myself, yes. Okay, thank you all. Stay safe.
Should have bought that snowplow this summer.
Happy shoveling.